Some of the darkest chapters in science didn't happen in haunted houses or horror films. They happened in real labs, on real people. Today, we're diving into 10 psychological experiments that feel like they were pulled straight from a horror movie. Number 10. The Monster Study, in 1939. In 1939, researchers at the University of Iowa set out to test a disturbing theory. Could harsh criticism actually cause stuttering? They turned to 22 orphaned children as their subjects. Half were praised for clear speech. The others were mocked, scolded, and told their voices were broken. For many, the damage was permanent. Some developed lifelong speech problems, while others carried deep anxiety and shame into adulthood. The world would come to know this tragedy as the Monster Study, an experiment that lived up to its name. Number 9. The Stanford Prison Experiment. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo set out to study the psychology of power and authority. In the basement of Stanford University, he built a mock prison and randomly assigned 24 student volunteers to play either guards or inmates. Within days, guards escalated from enforcing rules to outright humiliation. Prisoners were forced to wear smocks instead of clothes, answer to numbers instead of names, and do degrading tasks like cleaning toilets with their bare hands. Guards shouted insults, deprived inmates of sleep, and even put bags over their heads. The situation unraveled so fast that several prisoners suffered emotional breakdowns. Planned to last 2 weeks, the experiment was shut down after only 6 days. A haunting reminder of how quickly ordinary people can be consumed by power. Number 8. The Milgram Shock Experiment. In the 1960s, Yale psychologist Stanley Milgram set up a chilling test of obedience. Volunteers were told to administer electric shocks to another person whenever they answered a question wrong. With each mistake, the voltage increased, labeled from slight shock to danger, severe. The victim, an actor, cried out in pain, begged for mercy, and eventually went silent. Still, under the firm orders of the researcher, most participants continued flipping switches, many delivering what they believed were fatal shocks. The study exposed just how frighteningly easy it is to obey authority, even when it means harming others. Number 7. The Little Albert Experiment. In 1920, psychologists John Watson and Rosalie Rayner used a 9-month-old baby known as Little Albert to test whether fear could be conditioned. At first, Albert showed no fear of a white rat, but when researchers paired the rat with sudden jarring noises, the crash of a metal bar struck behind his head, Albert began to cry. Soon, it wasn't just the rat. He recoiled in terror at rabbits, dogs, fur coats, and even a man in a Santa mask. Disturbingly, Albert was never deconditioned. His learned fears were left unresolved, raising haunting questions about ethics and the long-term effects of psychological manipulation. Number 6. MKUltra. Beginning in the early 1950s, the CIA launched Project MKUltra, secretly dosing prisoners, soldiers, and even unsuspecting civilians with LSD. The goal was chilling, to see if minds could be controlled during the Cold War. Many victims never knew they were test subjects. When the project unraveled in the 1970s, thousands of files had already been destroyed, leaving only fragments of a decades-long nightmare. Number 5. The David Reimer Case. In 1965, a baby boy named Bruce Reimer suffered a botched circumcision that destroyed his penis. Psychologist John Money advised the parents to raise Bruce as a girl, insisting gender identity was learned, not innate. Renamed Brenda, the child was dressed as a girl and told she was female. But Brenda rejected the imposed identity, facing depression, bullying, and confusion. As a teenager, she learned the truth and reclaimed life as David Reimer. The trauma never left him. His story became a chilling example of the human cost of unethical experimentation. Number 4. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study, from 1932 to 1972. In Alabama, hundreds of black men were told they were getting free medical care. In truth, doctors were secretly studying the effects of untreated syphilis. Even after penicillin became a proven cure, treatment was withheld. Over 4 decades, men went blind, insane, or died. Wives were infected. Children were born sick. What looked like medicine was really deception, a government experiment that destroyed generations. Number 3. The Rosenhan Experiment. In 1973, psychologist David Rosenhan sent 8 healthy volunteers into psychiatric hospitals. They pretended to hear voices, but once admitted, they acted completely normal. Still, not a single staff member realized they were faking. Some were kept for weeks, diagnosed with schizophrenia, and given powerful drugs. The study revealed just how disturbingly fragile psychiatric diagnoses could be. Number 2. Operation Midnight Climax. In the 1950s, under the CIA's notorious MK-Ultra program, agents created secret brothels in San Francisco. Men were enticed inside, slipped LSD without their knowledge, and observed through one-way mirrors. The goal was to test drugs for mind control. But what unfolded was less science and more exploitation. It was just one piece of a sprawling network of experiments where human lives became disposable data. Number 1. The Aversion Project. During apartheid South Africa in the 1970s and 80s, the military launched what they called the Aversion Project. Gay and lesbian soldiers were subjected to brutal treatments meant to erase their sexuality. Some were chemically castrated, others were strapped down for electric shock therapy or force-fed experimental drugs. Survivors later described it not as medicine, but torture disguised as science, state-sponsored cruelty hidden behind the language of psychiatry. These weren't horror films, they were real experiments carried out on real people, each one a reminder of how far science can fall when ethics disappear. Comment yes below if you know that sometimes real life can be much scarier than a horror film.